Tonight in Cynthiana, some community members spoke out about a potential zone change near Harrison Memorial Hospital. The property was previously owned by the hospital, but it was recently bought by GAH Foundation LLC. Recent Powerball winner and Harrison County native Linda Grizzle is a part of that group. The foundation is now looking to change the zoning so they can continue developing the property. WKYT's Madison Carmouche was there as the local planning commission heard from both sides before making its decision. A story that's new tonight.
Many Harrison Countyans left Thursday night's Planning Commission meeting satisfied. This is because the commission denied a zone change that would have allowed multifamily housing in the senior living community, the cottages at Flat Run. These are currently single-family home lots.
We were afraid somebody would buy it that wanted to do something different than what it was set up to do, and that's exactly what's happened tonight.
After the cottages at Flat Run was sold to GAH Foundation by Harrison Memorial Hospital, neighbors worried the original development plans would be ignored. The new owners are requesting a zone change to build more of what they call affordable senior living, triplexes and fourplexes.
Most importantly, affordable housing for the senior community is a public need contemplated and acknowledged by the comprehensive plan.
Two of the foundation members, Rita Jones and Linda Grizzle, were at the meeting. They say developers will want to make a profit on the land, but as Harrison Countyans, they are looking to bring affordable housing and revenue.
If not for a member of the foundation being a Powerball winner, it's likely to have been partitioned off and the lots individually sold.
But representation for those not in favor of the zone change, attorney Patrick Watson, says the increased density without additional roadways could be dangerous, especially with a majority of neighbors being elderly.
If something happens at the main road and there's no additional access point for emergency vehicles, then how are you going to handle that?
Many community members shared these concerns and hope that the original development plan they worked out with the hospital can be honored. In Harrison County, Madison Carmouche, WKYT.
All right, the Planning and Zoning Board's recommendation will now go to the Cynthiana City Commission.